I'm talking to somebody who had a really tough couple of years and really went through a very transformative experience over this past year specifically, but I'm seeing more so within the last 2 to 3 years. Just this past year felt like you were actually able to recognize and see the actual significant changes that you made and some of the strides that you made forward. And I'm seeing that you have been really putting in the work. You've been choosing to heal. You've been choosing to move forward and better yourself and kind of like choose yourself in so many different ways. So, one of the ways that's coming up is like you've been choosing to like love on yourself and like give yourself the things that you were looking outside of yourself for that you've learned that you were not receiving externally, and there was a part of you that had to learn how to give that to yourself. And so I see you really making an effort to like show up for yourself. This could be like physical activity. This could be in ways of letting yourself have fun, letting yourself rest. Oof, that feels significant. So, like learning how to rest, learning how to give yourself downtime, learning how to be okay with like not overdoing, learning how to recognize that like rest is important and it deserves time as well. I feel like this is something that you really struggled with in the past, where you really were not able to give yourself the time that you needed to rest and rejuvenate. And you would kind of end up in these states of like burnout. And now you are finally giving yourself time to relax and rest and decompress, and you're noticing the difference between how you feel and then also like how much energy you have. So this was like sucking your energy is what I just heard when you were like overdoing and overexerting yourself to get things done, and something within you has kind of like forced you to slow down and to like give yourself time to breathe. Now, I'm not saying that you're not doing things or you haven't been accomplishing things. I think that you're a very accomplished person and you're someone who really like takes things seriously. And so, like, when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And you're very intelligent. I'm feeling like a vibration in my forehead. Oh, that's interesting. I think you're like extremely intelligent and you're very smart, and sometimes like you like overthink things, and part of the burnout was that you doing so much with the overthinking aspect was really just kind of pushing you into that space of like burnout. And so you're now able to recognize like the difference between like doing that and how you felt in that space compared to like not doing that. So there's a part of you that has just learned to that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to rest. It's okay to watch that funny movie. It's okay to enjoy yourself. Ooh, that feels significant. So there's something about like you learning how to like enjoy yourself, learning how to like spend your time, learning how to let yourself have joy and feel abundance. It feels like this past year you've been kind of doing better with being able to let yourself experience that. For a long time, I think you really struggled with like letting yourself feel happy or joy or feeling that you deserved happiness or joy. And now you're letting yourself kind of like do that a little bit more than you did in the past. I'm hearing like why so serious? So I think that's the Joker, right? So could be significant in some type of way. Maybe you've been watching the movies or you like the Joker. Harley Quinn is coming through as well. Um but why so serious, right? Like there's just something about like you kind of taking life too seriously and you really trying to like check all the boxes and like complete all the goals that you've been working towards. And in this past year, you've been able to recognize that you can still reach your goals and you can still enjoy yourself while doing it. You can still find joy in the moments and throughout the day, and you've started to like slow down. So the other thing that I'm hearing is like you've been learning how to um there's a part of you that was unable to really experience joy and happiness, and part of that was due to this like overdoing part of you, but overthinking part of you, which kept you from like being present in your body. So like this is a little bit of like survival mode ish. Like there's a part of me that feels like this energy, you've been able to kind of regulate yourself more. You started like paying more attention to your surroundings, where in the past maybe that was something that you really didn't do as much. But something has kind of forced you to slow down and kind of be able to be more present and be more with yourself. And the more present you are, and the more you're with yourself, and the more you're in your body, that's what really feels significant here. It feels like being in your body was very uncomfortable. And it took a really long time for you to be able to find comfort with being in your body. And like part of being present is being able to be in our body comfortably. So when we're overthinking, a lot of the times we're overthinking so that we don't have to be in our body. I hope this is making sense. And so I feel like a part of you is like learning to be present in the moment, learning to enjoy the things moment by moment. I'm hearing like recognizing this past year that the um it's not about where you're going as much as it's about the journey. Cacao could be significant, by the way, if you've never heard of it. Cacao is a Whole Foods um it's like a Whole Foods kind of thing. And when you make it with a hot cacao, kind of like a tea, I guess, it tastes like hot chocolate though. It's delicious. But when you make it and you drink it like on a daily basis or a couple times a week, it actually clears out your heart chakras and it clears out your sacral. So that's the one right in your belly. And I'm feeling it significant to share this because a part of what I think is happening for this collective is that there is like a heart opening, like a more like opening to enjoyment of life, the love of life, enjoying like moment by moment, starting to let yourself like have those moments and enjoy those moments and enjoy things even though you're not exactly where you want to be. There's a part of you that's learning to accept where you're at. Ooh, that's what that is. And so the cacao actually helps with like opening up creative juices and flow. So part of what keeps us from being able to experience joy and experience happiness on a day-to-day basis is that we're usually blocked in our sacral and in our root around like this idea of being able to create and enjoy. And we are creators. That is what we came here to do, is to create. And so it's really important that we find ways to do that for ourselves. And, when I talk to people, I talk to them about like, well, what about just like decorating the house? Like, don't you like to enjoy what you live in, right? Or decorating for holidays, or those are ways to create as well. There's so many different ways to do creation. I mean, content creation, right? Like what I'm doing right now with you in some ways. This would also be a way to do that. Um, Writing. There's just so many ways to do it. And like if you're not engaging in those ways, a lot of the time, that's where we're missing out on our joy and enjoyment of life. And so it's this balance of like creating and having the creative things that we enjoy doing and making things and then seeing that finished product, right? And then also being able to hold the other side of things, which is like being present, being grounded, being in the moment. And so, what I'm seeing in my mind's eye is like walking in nature. That's a big one for me personally. I think it may be for this collective as well, but finding the enjoyment of kind of going through nature. And I'm seeing somebody take pictures in nature. That's another way to create, is taking photos, painting, drawing. Um, but taking pictures through nature or going through nature and looking at the birds, right? Like things like that are ways that you can like find joy on a day-to-day basis and like help you to be more grounded and have a more fulfilling life. And that is what this collective is kind of like moving towards, is like understanding kind of what those things are for you that your soul has been craving and needing and wanting to be able to bring it happiness and joy and excitement, because you deserve those things. You deserve to feel good. And there's a part of you that's starting to recognize that as well. That you deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel happy. You deserve to feel fulfilled in your life. And you deserve to laugh. One of the things, I don't know why this is coming through, but Alice in Wonderland is like one of my favorite movies from when I was a kid. And if you're at a spiritual awakening and you've ever seen it, it is like so cute. And it's about like her becoming, right? And when you read into spiritual communities, they talk a lot about becoming, like becoming her, becoming him, becoming they, becoming them, right? Like whatever you would identify with. And it's about like learning to unlearning everything I was taught so that I can become who I'm meant to be. And there's something about that that's coming through about like letting yourself kind of be childlike. Part of who you're meant to be is being able to attach that childlike part of yourself, that inner child that just wants to play, that just wants to create, that just wants to explore, right? Like that's part of tapping into that, is being able to give yourself joy and happiness and excitement and all of those things. And so children's movies is coming through. Like I'm hearing specifically like it's okay for you to watch kids movies. It's okay for you to sit and enjoy that. It's okay. Land Before Time. That one came through. Littlefoot, I think his name is. Happy Feet is another one. They're just like coming through as like ways to like kind of help you connect with your inner child. So like I think this collective is like kind of starting to step in that direction of learning how to really tap in and connect with their inner child and figure out like how to kind of let them come out and play in a safe way. And another thing that's coming through for me, and when I first started doing some inner child work, was like coloring with crayons. That's a big one. And then another one that's coming through for me is if you write with your non-dominant hand, that will also be able to tap into um, like your inner child. That's just like something I know from psychology, from being a therapist for so long. But that's a very interesting thing too. It might be something cool to try. Sticker books. Oh my gosh, sticker books. Stickers, so much fun. But letting yourself just like play and get lost and enjoy and just be. Really, that is like what I think you are like starting to learn how to do for yourself, and you're stepping in that direction. And it takes time and it takes practice, right? And like when you do something and it doesn't end up like feeding what you wanted it to feed or feeling the way you want it, that's just information about, okay, well then that's just not my cup of tea and let's try something else, right? Like that's not a place to like beat yourself up or like feel bad. Like it's just a place to acknowledge that, okay, I learned that that wasn't the thing. You check that off the list and you keep going forward, right? Like sometimes to find the way forward, we need to figure out what we don't like first to be able to figure out what we do like. And I think that seems really significant for you, because I feel like this collective is like really hard on themselves. So like, not being right about everything, maybe being wrong about things feels really difficult. And so when I do put the effort in and I do take all of my energy and I do try this thing and then it doesn't feel as good as I thought it was, I feel disappointed. And not just disappointed in the fact that it didn't feel as good as I thought it was going to, but disappointed in myself. So there's a part of this collective that's kind of really working on like trying not to be as critical with themselves, like trying to work on being more compassionate and kind and open, which actually makes sense when I think about it because of the inner child work. So like if you're doing inner child work, a lot of that is learning how to be kind and compassionate and loving to yourself, even like when you're imperfect, even when you're messy. Um, Someone needs to hear this, but healing is not perfect. Healing is messy. That is part of what healing is. And so it's okay to be messy. And actually, that's where you learn, is in the mess. So be messy. I'm seeing somebody do like finger paints, which is so much fun. And like maybe having fun or play in a way that is like non-structured like that is a way that you can really start to like lose yourself and figure it out, right? Like having that really messy play. There's a part of me that feels like this collective has really struggled with finding joy and happiness because of a perfectionistic kind of tendency where, if I'm not going to do it perfect or it's not going to come out good, then why bother at all? That's kind of what I'm hearing. And the reality is like being a kid, right? Like we didn't do things because it was going to be perfect. We did things because we wanted to try it, right? We wanted to learn. We were open to play. We were open to explore, right? And that's kind of like the mindset that you need to take to be able to tap into your inner child in that way, is to be able to really like tap into that space of like playing and exploring and being okay with being messy and not having expectations that it's going to show up perfectly or be perfect. Let it be imperfect, and let that be a starting point, right? Like the other thing I'm hearing too is like, we walk into certain things as adults and we think we need to be great at something to keep doing it, but the reality is like, you know, to be great at something really does take practice over time. Even if you're pretty good at it to start with, you still get better with practice. So give yourself the chance to be mediocre. Give yourself the chance to be bad. Give yourself the chance to be imperfect and let that be okay. And I think that's like where this collective is really starting to learn how to step into, is like letting themselves just be imperfect and not judging themselves or being hard on themselves about that, and instead showing themselves love, care, compassion, kindness, and excitement for it. I feel like that's something that's been really difficult for this collective that I'm tapping into. I feel like this comes from like a critical parent of some sort. Like you grew up around somebody who was really hard on you, and like if it wasn't good, then you didn't receive like attention, or you didn't receive like acknowledgement for what you did, even though you had fun doing it or you enjoyed doing it. It was always like doing it to complete a certain goal or doing it to accomplish something specific. I'm seeing sports. So I don't know if someone in this collective like played sports, but playing sports and like this idea that if you're not winning, or you're not number one on the team, or you're not the MVP, then you're not like, then it was a pointless thing, right? Like that's kind of what's coming up for me in some ways. Or like you did this really beautiful art painting, but if it wasn't picked for the show, then it wasn't good enough. Or you wrote this really great short story, but if it wasn't like acknowledged or it didn't win the award, then it didn't matter. Like there's something around this collective around like winning and needing to win to be able to receive like joy or give yourself approval for what you created, rather that. And this is where I feel like it's like tied to that expectation, right? Like that expectation of what needs to happen for you to be able to have joy, to be able to find happiness. So a lot of that feels like for you, for a long time, it's been attached to this idea that like I can't relax until I've done all the things I need to do for today. I can't have happiness or joy or excitement until I've reached this goal. And so it feels like it's been very transactional, this idea of like how you have been able to sit around and understand play and enjoyment and tapping into your inner child and even relaxation. And there's a part of this collective that's starting to see that differently. They're starting to acknowledge that maybe I don't need to do all these things to be able to receive this. Maybe it's okay for me to receive this now. Maybe it's okay for me to take that break and enjoy myself right now. And because I know I'll always get it done, right? Like there's a part of you that's learning to trust yourself more. And that's also a part of you that needs to grow and become more foundational for you to be able to give yourself joy and happiness throughout the day as you're doing things. Just because you take a moment and take a break doesn't mean that you didn't do enough throughout the day. That's what it is. Feeling like you're not doing enough. And enough by whose standards? And who put that expectation on you? Where does that come from? Because that was something that was put on you from childhood. That was something that you took on throughout your life. That isn't something that you have to continue to take on moving forward if you decide not to. You can decide to let that go, is what I just heard. You can decide to say that I trust myself enough to reach my goals and to get my things done. And yeah, I can still have enjoyment throughout my day. I can still be present. I can still play toss with the dog before I go back to work or whatever, right? Like, and the more that you actually take breaks, the more rejuvenated and energized you will actually feel. The more present you are, you'll notice that that actually does shift the way that you are able to preserve your energy and the more energy that you feel throughout the day. So, as you're working towards this, like learning how to like be happy and give yourself joy and be easy, be kind, be gentle. One thing I always say to clients is talk to yourself like you're a kindergartner. Because let's be real, you are. You're a kindergartner in this part of your life. So talk to yourself like you're a kindergartner. Let it be okay. Let yourself be gentle and kind and loving with yourself around these kinds of things. And let yourself play. Let yourself enjoy. You deserve that. I think that that's the message. So, my name is Crystal Hoban, aka Crystal Clear Mystic. And if you would like a private reading, coaching, or spiritual guidance, please check out my bio. And I'll catch you next time. Love and light.